I'm Vince Colonnese, alongside Mary Walter.
And we are so excited because we have a rare Friday morning appearance by Joe diGenova, show favorite, friend of the show. Joe, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Good morning. I'm happy to be a rare sighting.
So I don't know, anything in particular you want to talk about this morning? Because there really doesn't seem to be much going on. How about the Justice Department, the IG submitting this criminal referral of Andrew McCabe for lack of candor on not one, not two, not three, but 4 occasions. Was this surprising to you? Did you think that this was going to happen?
It's not a surprise, and here's the reason why. What you are watching is the Department of Justice clumsily get back to a rule of law with one standard instead of the 2 standards that were applied during the Obama administration. The referral of Mr. McCabe for possible prosecution, and remember, it's a referral for evaluation as to whether or not he should be charged, is an example of the department trying to figure out a way to restore its credibility and the confidence of the American people in a very broken department that was ruined by Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, and a bunch of other people at the top, and, of course, James Comey. So this is all about, if you're going to charge Michael Flynn, you got to charge Mr. McCabe. It's real simple stuff. And if McCabe isn't charged, I don't care if it's a Republican U.S. attorney or not, these guys are going to pay a price. It's too bad. This is not retributive justice or vengeance. This is the rule of law. This is what it looks like. And for the Democrats who keep saying, no, they're there, like that idiot Nancy Pelosi yesterday, who says that the memos confirm everything she's ever said, God help us. What an idiot.
Well, those memos, first of all, I'm encouraged by the notion that this is a course correction for the Justice Department. If those memos indicate anything, one of the big things that we were talking about this morning is that James Clapper urged James Comey to speak to the President of the United States when he was, before he became president, the president-elect, to tell him about the dossier. And what's been revealed is that they knew that CNN needed a news hook to publish its scoop, that the dossier existed. They got one when James Comey gave that briefing.
Yes, and here's the important thing about that. Of course, it's very interesting to know that, and of course we suspected that all along. But here's what's really important. It shows that there was, in fact, a plot, a brazen plot, to exonerate Hillary Clinton, and then if she lost the election, to frame Donald Trump. Because what they were doing with the dossier was dirtying up the president so that when the Steele dossier became part of the FISA warrant process, they could use it through the application of public pressure to get a special counsel. Comey knew that. That's why he leaked the memos. Every single thing that Comey and Clapper and Brennan and the people at the highest levels of the FBI did, at DOJ did, was to set in motion a set of false facts to warrant an investigation, and they got it. But one thing happened. It was disclosed because of the honor of the NSA director, Admiral Rogers. He's the guy who started the walls come tumbling down. Comey should go to prison. All this stuff about, well, you can't lock up an FBI director. I got news for you. L. Patrick Gray should have went to jail. These people should go to jail.
Can you, you hit it on Admiral Rogers just a moment ago. Would you just expand on that? How is Admiral Rogers the good guy here, and what did he do?
Admiral Rogers, the head of NSA right now, was also the head of NSA at the time of the illegal spying and the unmasking. He discovered it when a compliance officer came to him and said, hey, you know what? There's some stuff going on here with these searches that are being done by these contractors in the FBI that isn't right, and our people are going along with it. Rogers ordered an audit, and that's when the FISA court was told, and that's when the crimes were discovered.
Are there any other things inside these memos released by James Comey yesterday that you've heard or discovered that are risible to you that we have not gotten a chance to focus on yet?
I can barely hear you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let me try one more time.
Say it again.
The James Comey memos. Anything else that sticks out to you?
Well, it's a veritable cornucopia of revelations of a very, very tortured and troubled mind. I urge people to print out the 16 pages. They're available everywhere on the internet and read them. What you see is a man. I was saying to Victoria, my wife, this morning, as I read them, I thought of the Nazis who kept detailed records of the exterminations, and then they were used in the war crimes against them. This is the same thing. These are the Nazi war crime memos done by an American government official. They are a detailed description of how to violate the law, subvert the Constitution, and frame an incoming president of the United States. They are filled with arrogance, and I must say, the writings of what I consider to be a very disturbed mind.
Let's want to get your take on Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein telling President Trump apparently last week that he's not a target of any part of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Does that mean that the president can breathe easy?
Well, I've always believed that the president can breathe easy from the beginning of this because there was no crime that was ever posited when Mr. Rosenstein illegally appointed Robert Mueller. Remember, the appointing documents for Robert Mueller say nothing about criminality. They just say it's a difficult thing and it's politically sensitive and it needs to be investigated. It does not indicate that a crime was ever committed. And indeed, up until now, no crime involving the Russian collusion with the president or anyone associated with him has been found. Rod Rosenstein, when all this is said and done, will go down in history as an absolute coward for having appointed Robert Mueller. When Jeff Sessions appointed Mr. Huber to investigate the FISA violations, he appointed a U.S. attorney to look into it, used Justice Department resources, and if he decided he needed a special counsel, he could do that, he could recommend that. Rod Rosenstein didn't do that. He ran away. He was in a traffic accident, and he ran from the scene. He left the scene. It's unbelievable that he appointed Mueller. As you go back and look at this now and see that absolutely nothing has been discovered about collusion, to sit there and not tell the President of the United States a long time ago that he had no exposure is absolutely despicable by Rosenstein. And when this is over, Jeff Sessions should fire Mr. Rosenstein ipso facto as fast as possible.
All right, Joe, we're going to keep you here because there is just so much we have to talk to you about. If you don't mind, we'd love to keep you. We are joined by Joe diGenova, commentator extraordinaire, legal analyst, former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, wanted to briefly, you had mentioned your wife, Victoria Tenzing, and her client seems to have been the reason for a referral by the GOP of Loretta Lynch for criminal investigation. They cited the alleged threat of reprisal against that informant in the Uranium One case. What is your take on these referrals for criminal investigation?
Well, first of all, it's good government to make the referrals, and it's a very professional letter that the members sent. It's not mudslinging. It raises a series of factual questions about the testimony of a number of people. In the particular case involving the Uranium One informant, Rod Rosenstein sent people up on Capitol Hill to smear the Uranium One informant after he had gone up and briefed multiple Senate and House committees saying that he was not credible, which, of course, was an absolute falsehood that Rosenstein spread around. And that was rebutted by former FBI officials who dealt with the informant. Believe me, there's more on that coming up about Rosenstein. But what happened was when the informant decided he wanted to go public and make public what had really happened in Uranium One because he thought Rosenstein and others had covered it up, he was warned by none other than the agents of Andrew Weissman, who was then the head of the fraud section, that if he went public, he would be prosecuted criminally. It was outrageous, but it was typical of the way Weissman conducted himself and typical of the way others, by the way, at that time, Mueller was the FBI director, so Mueller never knew anything except that Uranium One was a bad deal and did nothing about it. So the bottom line is that referral refers to the informant because a bunch of people, including Rosenstein, played dirty pool and were unprofessional in their conduct as people in the department.
Joe, one of the things I've noticed in all of the storylines of late about the Justice Department is all of a sudden all of these guys are attacking one another. You have Comey going after Loretta Lynch, Lynch attacking Comey, Comey attacking Rosenstein, Comey and McCabe are attacking each other. This whole thing seems like it's spinning out of control.
It is, and in fact, the brazen plot is unraveling. It's also an example of rats swimming to a sinking ship. These are people who are fundamentally dishonest people. When you watch James Comey on television, you are watching the unraveling of a bad mind. You are watching a man who engaged in conspiracies, who corruptly tried to frame people, who lied to his superiors, who conspired to leak information. And when you look at the 16 pages that were released of his memos, you will see that huge portions are blacked out. Now, why is that? It's because the information was determined to be highly classified. And that means that when James Comey gave those memos, took them out of his house, and gave them to the professor at Columbia, Mr. Daniel Richman, he committed a crime. And you will notice that Daniel Richman was first described by Comey when he did this as a friend of his. This was kind of a homey little thing. He was giving these documents so his friend could leak it to the New York Times. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, James Comey says that Mr. Richman is more than a friend. He's his private attorney, and that those were protected communications. You are watching the destruction, the self-destruction, Harry-Carry of James Comey by his own hand. It is wonderful to watch. No one deserves it better. This guy is a total scumbag.
Joe diGenova, I want to get your reaction to another lawyer piece of news, which is that Rudy Giuliani has been added to the president's legal team. He's hoping to bring the Mueller investigation to a rapid end here. Do you have a reaction to Rudy's addition?
It's a great choice. Rudy is a wonderful lawyer, former U.S. attorney for the Southern District. He knows his business. He's great. Believe me, they could have not have chosen better. I think it's fabulous. I'm very, very happy for the president because Rudy knows Mueller. They've worked together. It is just sort of the perfect choice. And if Rudy can't end it, then believe me, there's going to be hell to pay because this is nonsense at this point. Just remember, they've stolen 15 months of a president's time in office over nothing, over a hoax. People should be put in jail for this, after what they've done to a democracy and a democratic republic. This is disgraceful. Rudy will hopefully help that process move along, and the people who've done it will be held accountable, and a lot of them should go to prison.
I do have one more on the DOJ IG. We've seen already the Andrew McCabe report, but we're expecting more. Do you have any sense of the timeline of when to expect these other reports?
Mr. Horowitz is testifying on May 8th, already scheduled. I assume that at least parts of it will be out before then.
Yeah, one would hope. Joe diGenova.
Yeah, and by the way, for our WMAL listeners and for you guys, I taped The Circus on Showtime yesterday for Sunday night at 8 p.m. on Showtime. So we'll look in. We'll be discussing a lot more of this.
Wow. Okay.
Fantastic.
Good to know.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Joe diGenova, legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Always nice to have you. Bookending our weekend. We'll have him back Monday.